Hello and welcome to the Destination Fulfillment Podcast. I'm Rodney
I'm
and
Janine.
and we are catching up. It has been over 4 years since we actually published our last episode, and at this point, we are in a transition period where we are launching a brand new business and we are excited about it. And we wanted to bring you along with us on our journey as we establish the foundations of a new business. To first start, we kind of wanted to give a little explanation as to why we had the 4 year pause.
So we purchased a home in Cincinnati, and then we got real jobs. And by real jobs, I mean we went back to working for other people. I went and started my career at the local public school district, and then transitioned to a park district. And then
And
Rodney,
yeah, and I also worked at a school district in the transportation field, along with customer service aspects in there. Um, but yeah, so we just kind of we settled down, bought a house, started taking different responsibilities on, and destination fulfillment kind of took a little bit of a backseat for us. So for that, we apologize. But we're here now, and we want to take you on this new adventure with us. Our journey over the last 4 years has been, big thing transitioning into Cincinnati. We added a new pet to our family, a Smokey, our cat, and then we moved again.
yep, we bought a house, sold the house, bought another house, and we chose Cincinnati for a lot of different reasons, but over the last 4 years, we've made new friends, connected with new family members. Rodney got his degree.
Yep, I went to Xavier University here in Cincinnati and got a Bachelor's of Arts degree in organizational leadership, minoring in psychology. But that's not to say that I feel that it's necessary to have a degree to be successful. I just want to put that out there because that's one of our big principles here on Destination Fulfillment is that you and your success are built around you and who you are as a person and what you want to accomplish. That doesn't mean you have to have a degree to be successful. Of course, we know there are certain professional fields that are going to require a certain level of education. And obviously, if you want to be successful in those fields, you already know that you have to go and get your degree and do it well. So, what have we learned about ourselves in the last 4 years as we worked in leadership and management roles for other people?
Well, I learned a lot. One is thing that I learned was I don't like working for other people. I'm definitely I have a lot of leadership values that kind of focus around open communication, transparent communication, um, being accountable myself, but also being around people who hold themselves accountable. And if we mess up, we come to the table and we talk it out and kind of treat each other like humans, and recognize that humans are messy and imperfect. Um, and in my experience, the last few years, and honestly throughout my career, not a lot of people like that approach. In theory, they say they do, but in reality, they don't. And so, what I've the big takeaway for me has been I want to be my own boss.
You want to be your own boss. Well, for me, as far as leadership and management and what I've kind of learned over the last 4 years, um, will say that I've had the benefit of experiencing a variety, like a wide variety of leadership styles between three individuals over the last 4 years. somebody who was very hands off and freeing and trusted their people, gave basic structure and let them kind of run with it, and then checked in with them, gave them the support when they asked for it, but didn't get in the way of their people, trying to be successful or potentially failing in that respect. You kind of let them stumble and fall and, pick themselves back up, and was there to kind of help and guide throughout the process. I've also worked with somebody who is a very much a micromanager. Wants to make sure that every single structure and procedure is outlined and it's very rigid. And there's a certain area for that where you can be successful once you've figured out a method that works, and then you write it down and you repeat it. It's not always guaranteed to be successful, but if you can get to a stage where you're repeating success, then I mean, in some ways that makes sense. But it really did take a lot of the creativity and the individuality out of it. So yeah, there's been uh, a wide variety of leadership styles that I've kind of learned from and seen firsthand what works, what doesn't work on larger scales, smaller scales. And a big factor in that is also the people that are being led. Who are the people that this leader is leading, and are they really leading, or are they just managing?
Yeah.
Are these subordinates actually following their leadership, or are they just coming to work so that they get paid, and they're just accepting the role of manager subordinate?
Yeah, and in my experience too, you in that manager subordinate field, like I work with people who are very specialized in certain areas, or can be very specialized in certain areas, and sometimes that causes a challenge of trying to get them to expand their horizons. But if they don't want to, you can't force them. And so then how do you manage that from a manager subordinate, from a leadership perspective, that kind of stuff? And it can be really frustrating, especially for
Yeah.
me as a person who can, like, I'm like, I can see all of your potential, and it's frustrating to me when you're like, when someone's just like, I don't care, I don't want to do it. um as they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yep. So that's kind of a great segue into where we decided to kind of quit our jobs. We decided that the leadership we were working with wasn't really working for us. Um, and we feel like, I don't want to speak for Janine here, but feel like we want to make a difference in our communities, and that's why we both went into public schools and public recreation, park districts. Uh, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I felt like I was being kind of stifled and corralled into one, pipeline, so to speak, and not really being able to inspire change. I really got into a way where I was always having to be reactive to things that were going on, and I never had the opportunity or potential to be proactive to make those changes. So that I didn't have to react to every fire and feel like I was jumping literally from fire to fire, putting out fires.
Yeah, I think similar to me. I think the work the team did was amazing. The work that at both the school district and the park district. um, and I think, you know there's just especially with government, there's so much red tape, and there's, you're taxpayer funded, and there's all kinds of just hurdles that you have to go over that stifle the real creativity and the real impact that you can make. And for me, my red thread throughout my whole career has been social impact, working with people, environmental impact, helping save the planet. um, and I've always been passionate about, you know, making a better life for myself, but also for, and more importantly, for other people, helping people, meeting them where they're at, trying to improve society as a whole. And so historically in my career, I've leaned towards jobs where I felt like I could do that on a big scale. And I think for me, more recently, I've decided that, you know, maybe it's not the big scale that I should be focusing on, it's the smaller scale that I should be focusing on.
Yeah, I've really seen a big impact recently where the ones that the people that really want to make change in the world don't have to make it on the big scale,
Yeah.
right? You realize that, making a small change in someone's life every day, right? Getting in there and helping somebody, like, you never know the the trickle effect that that's going to have. You doing something kind, changing somebody's life for the better, helping them in a way, and how they are going to take that and go. And are they going to squander it? Maybe. Is that on me as a person helping this person to, have to bear that burden? No. I can help this person with the faith and desire and, you know, aspiration that they're going to go help somebody else too. And really, if you're about making lasting sustainable changes, they're not going to be large scale all at once. It's going to be small steps, gradual over time, and those gradual changes over time are going to create big lasting changes.
Yeah, I like to think about it as like you're not changing the world, you're changing my world or your world or their world, right? And I think about too a lot. I I think a lot about Mr. Rogers quote of you know, look for the helpers. And you know, we think about that generally on like a grand scale. You know, you see a disaster and there's first responders running in to help people, but really it can be, you know, I think like the you came home from work one day and you're like, oh yeah, I stopped off at my colleague's house to mow her lawn because she's dealing with some stuff right now, and was talking about how the city was getting mad because her lawn wasn't mowed, so you went over and mowed the lawn. Like that's something simple, but it changes their world.
It changes their world, and it also, I think, doing those types of acts of kindness brings some hope for humanity. It changes. It can not even just the person that like you might help, the person that you don't realize, the bystander that witnessed you help,
Yeah.
right? It can change their outlook, even if it's just for that moment, that day. It can change somebody's outlook and restore somebody's hope for humanity. Because let's be honest, in a world where the media is constantly showing us objectively bad news and things that are negative and bad in the world, which I don't like to really use negative and bad so much because you don't know what good could be coming out of certain bad things. But it it really can make a wide ripple effect, just doing those small acts.
Yeah.
So that led us to kind of bringing it back around. That led us to deciding we want to go a new route. And Janine, why don't you kind of give the audience a little bit of insight as to when Brewed, the name of the new business we're going into, BREWD, like when did that start?
Um so it started over a decade ago. I think if I do my math right, which we know I'm terrible at math. But if I do my math right, it was about 12 years ago. I went to a board game cafe with a friend in Columbus, Ohio, and I remember just loving the atmosphere. It was relaxed. There was, coffee, drinks, some cocktails, and their setup was really cool. I don't remember the name of the place. I wish I did. I don't know. I don't even know if it's still in Columbus, but they had just wall to wall board games, and you could pick a board game off the shelf, and then someone, if you wanted help, would come over and explain to you how to play the board game. And they had everything from, your classics like Monopoly and Scrabble to things I've never even heard of before. Like they had a quilting board game, and it was like you place tiles in some sort of strategic way and you come up with a quilt.
And now they probably have stuff like exploding kittens,
Right.
which I still can't wrap my head around.
I love exploding kittens. It's so fun.
And and the chameleon, and
Yes.
your other classics like checkers and dominoes
And
and
Settlers of Catan, which is now a classic.
which is now a classic. Yes.
But
So I just want to kind of interject here really quick and highlight the fact that this is something that you saw something and it spurred an inspiration in you, and you had the idea of taking their concept and making it your own and putting your own twist on it. But this was over a decade ago.
mm-hmm.
And most people, not most people, some people, a lot of people, I think, tend to give up on their dreams after a certain amount of time, or after somebody laughs at them. And I know you have an example about somebody not really like seeing your vision, but hold on to that dream. And if that dream is still something you want to do, like, don't put a timeline on it as far as when you have to start it or when it'll become successful, because I mean, here we are 12 years later about to launch this brand new business.
Yeah, so kind of continuing the story a little bit is so I only went there one time with a friend and had a great time, and I love the ambiance of the place, and it just kind of stuck in the back of my head, and I was like, maybe that would be kind of cool one day to like open a board game cafe. And a couple months later, I left the U.S. to go serve in Peace Corps in Armenia. I came back, still in the back of my head, like that could be cool. And then I went to grad school, and in grad school, my last semester, I was in a leadership course, and our professor assigned us a project where we had to basically pitch a business, Shark Tank style, to our classmates. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do my board game cafe. And I came up with a concept and a pitch deck and all that stuff. And every single one of my other classmates pitched an app of some sort. Mine was the only brick and mortar concept. And while most people in the class were like, okay, this is weird, but like, why aren't you doing an app? There was, but they weren't like ho-humming it or anything. They were just, I don't think they got it, right? But there was one person in my class who was just adamantly rude about it, and just kind of like outwardly was like, this is dumb, you're never, like, why would you do this? You don't understand the cost benefit, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, this is, like, it's fake, right? Like, these are all fake. We're not actually pitching for $1 million.
Yeah, it's all hypotheticals.
And it kind of stuck with me, because it was like, not everybody's gonna get it, right? Like, no matter what your idea is, no matter what you want it to be, not everybody's going to get it. And those people who don't get it are going to, in some way, shape, or form, tell you not to do it. And so, I didn't win the pitch contest. An app won the pitch contest.
Well, I mean, when you have 9 apps and 1 non-app,
Yeah.
I think the odds were not in your favor.
Yeah. But so then when Rodney and I met, at some point we started talking about I told him about my idea,
And this
and
was 8 years ago, just to kind of keep you in on the timeline. So,
yep,
12 years ago, you went to the establishment that kind of spurred the idea.
yep,
You hung on to it. You traveled Eastern Europe doing in the Peace Corps. You came back to the States. You went from Ohio to California,
mm-hmm,
where you went to grad school. Your senior or your final year of grad school, you have this project, and you had, to put it bluntly, you had a few people stomp on your idea.
yeah,
And I mean, for a lot of people, that would have been enough to crush your dream. The first time you might speak it out loud into a group of your peers, who could potentially be your colleagues in the very near future after graduating school. And, they kind of stomp on it. And that'd be enough for a lot of people to just give up on it at that point. But yeah, so 8 years ago, um, you and I met,
mm-hmm,
and after we had been dating for a few months, you brought this idea up to me, and you kind of you know told me more about it, and so yeah, so continue from there.
so yeah, Rodney has owned a brick and mortar business in the past, and so
Mm-hmm.
he was, he's like, yeah, that's cool. And he was really supportive. And over the last 8 years, we've had a lot of conversations about it. We've, really adjusted and molded, and so I wouldn't even call it a board game cafe anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but we came up with this concept that we're both really excited about, and it's a coffee shop tap house. But it will still have a board game element to it. But I think the overall part, and like what brings us all together for us, is that it is we're really trying to create a space, like a community space, where people are welcome to come and hang out and sit and hang out with friends or meet new friends. And we'll talk a little bit more in later episodes, I believe, about the different aspects of how we're going to bring this to life and how we're going to create this space to give back to the community and create that social impact that we really want. But I think it was when we were on the truck when we really started molding this idea and came up with Brood, as it will be known. And I think part of why this is so, like, this is not a rush and it's not a spontaneous, like, oh, we're going to quit our jobs and open up a business.
Even though some people look at us from the outside and have thought over the last few months that this was some type of spontaneous, spur of the moment idea, and really, I mean, as we're telling you now, that's definitely not the case.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, from the outside in, it probably looks, it definitely looks like it's very spontaneous because we didn't talk about it over the last 8 years. It was just between us two. And, I lost my train of thought.
No, so do you mind if I kind of jump in
Go for
and
it.
spur the conversation a little bit? So what in your mind, or our mind, I'll chime in as well, is your long-term goal for Brood? Let's say, give me like your 5-year goal plan, and then a 10-year.
Yeah, I think my 5 year goal, I want to have an established enough business where we are supporting our local organizations, youth organizations, park organizations, where we can make meaningful donations or be meaningful partners to our neighbors, basically. And in the mission for Brood, it's all about making a neighborly impact and creating space for our neighbors.
Yeah, and one of the spaces we've talked about is artist corner of sorts, and we're working on the name. Don't at me, but where local artists that are struggling, wanting to sell and display their pieces. That's one of the things we want to do is we want to provide a space for local artists that don't otherwise have the means to display their artwork somewhere for people to see. We want to be able to provide that space and provide it also as a space to where they could potentially sell their artwork to our patrons. Um, but yeah, that's just one example of kind of working with our neighbors and our community. So what
Yeah.
about? Go ahead.
I was going to say, and so, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, this is a third space. And I think that term third space is really interesting because traditionally it's like the space you go between your home and your work. And so historically it's been churches and it's been, adult sporting leagues, or it's been bars. And like, yes, this is a tap house. We're partially a bar. But when I look at those spaces are designed for people who already believe in the same thing to an extent, right? And one of the things that I also find very interesting is how um, we don't adults don't know how to make friends. like we don't
What?
right? Like we make friends as kids because we're forced into the same space, and then we just kind of like with no qualms about it say, I like you, you're my friend now. And then that's how you end up with little JoJo that has 80 best friends. As adults, we learn how to be polite, and we learn how to be, cognizant of like, oh, well, maybe that person doesn't like me, so we are scared to make friends. And and then there's all this research coming out and being like, oh, well, we don't have a third space anymore, so that's why. But then I go to those spaces and I'm like, I look at, like, I go to a bar on trivia night, and trivia night's designed to bring people together and create this third space. But you have to already go with 4 friends.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It pits you and people you already know
Yeah,
against other people.
against other people. And sometimes there's, cross interaction, but there's very little of it. So one of the things with Brute that we're going to be very intentional about is creating opportunities for people to get to know each other and to meet each other and make new friends and meet their neighbors, as I say with the Brood branding, through intentional interactions that get people to know one another.
And we're not trying to make this a product space, right? And I mean to say we're more interested in creating a fun, memorable experience for our customers rather than we want to sell you our product and get you out of the door so we can get the next customer in and sell them our product and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. We're wanting to make this space where people feel welcome, people feel at home, people feel like they're not rushed to get out, pay their check, get out the door. People are encouraged to, sit in a space where there's another person that they've never met before and, maybe strike up a conversation, whatever. But it's more about the experience for us rather than trying, creating an assembly line of customers in and out.
And speaking of, being neighbors, right, and building community, the other piece of this is like, yes, we're a bar, yes, we're a coffee shop, yes, we're gonna have food, but all of the products that we're going to sell, as much as humanly possible, are going to be sourced locally. We're going to be working with local brewers, local food producers, local coffee roasters, and then we're even going to be doing supplies, and then where we can, locally, and then where we can, if we can't get it locally, we're going to try to get it sustainably. So just being very intentional about supporting the people around us, and then not doing too much harm
to the environment.
to the environment. Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes to compostable to-go containers and cups, and then reusable products and whatnot. Utensil-wise, plates and things like that that are not one-time use. So, do you have anything to add as far as like what a 10-year looks like?
10-year goal, I hope to be thriving and maybe starting the conversation about location number 2.
So this is where we differ slightly. I want us to build this business up, but I also want us to build this business out uniformly. So I think we have everything in us to have a second location, at least getting ready to open a second location by year 5.
He's very aggressive. I'm a lot more conservative.
I mean, I don't want to say, I wouldn't say aggressive, but once we have ironed out the kinks in our business model and really created the atmosphere that we are hoping to create, which not only consists to our community, our neighbors, our customers, the environment, but it also entails our employees, right? And we want to give benefits to our employees that wouldn't normally receive benefits for maybe the part-time work that they're doing. We want them to, feel like this is a place where they are appreciated and that they can share their ideas and grow with us as an organization, and be comfortable letting our business rest in their hands. And hopefully I want to build those types of relationships with a team that we build and promote into like management kind of roles, so that we do have the ability to create a second and third location, not in the immediate vicinity, but within an hour or two at the most, to be able to kind of keep it under our umbrella and keep a watchful eye and create the same meaningful community impact in another community.
Yeah. And Rodney says 5 years, I say 10.
I mean, tomato. So let's kind of quickly touch base. I know we're running a little long, but let's look at the last 3 months or so in our timeline here, which is really in the last 3 months is when we decided we're going to pull the trigger on this, and we are going to quit our jobs, and we are going to make this happen.
Yep.
So what was kind of, if you want to talk about the tipping point that lit the match?
Yeah. Well, oh man, it was late September.
Brenda, we're looking at you.
Yeah, so it was late September, and I was struggling in my job. Rodney was struggling in his job, and we decided to go up to see some friends that live on a farm outside of Dayton, and we were kind of telling them our woes and just being like, we got to figure something out. And the matriarch of the family jokingly said, oh, well, the pub up the street is for sale. You guys could buy that. And we looked at each other. We were sitting right next to each other. We looked at each other, and we both basically said Brood, because we've had the name forever.
Yeah. And they didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
They only knew that we were kind of over it at our jobs, and we wanted to try and create some kind of change, whether that was go to a new employer or what. We didn't really know at the time.
Yep.
But she mentions the the bar down the street that's for sale, and yeah, we immediately look at each other like, yep,
Brood.
brood.
And so we looked into it. Rodney got in contact with the leasing agent or the selling agent, and before we could get our funding together, they had accepted an offer. So
Which I think in the long run,
that was for the better.
yeah, it wasn't the right location for us.
So, we were disappointed, but almost immediately, Rodney and I came back together and we're like, no, we're gonna do this. Look at this place I found and look at this place I found. And so then we found another location in the business district of Cincinnati.
And I just want to say, coincidentally, her and I both individually found the same location, and we came to each other like, hey, look at this. And we were showing each other the same thing.
Yep. And so we reached out again. This time we reached out again, and this time we made an offer, and they accepted the offer. And then the next, essentially 2 months, month and a half, went by, and it was one sign after the next that we should not be doing this. We should not be going forward with this sale.
Yeah, we should not be working with this seller.
Yeah. The space was beautiful. The broker and the lawyer that we worked with were wonderful, but it was every time we made one step forward, we were taking 2 steps back. And I think that's another thing where, a lot of people at that point would be like, well, it's just not meant to be. We're not doing it. So we got to the end of our consideration period.
Yeah, doing our due diligence.
Yeah, we got the end of our due diligence period, and we were walking around OTR downtown Cincinnati, and we found another location with 3CDC.
Yeah, now this one would be just a straight lease where we're building everything from the ground up. This was not going to be a business acquisition.
Correct. And so we reached out to them. We toured the space. We really liked it. And Rodney and I talked, and we said, it feels right now to rescind our offer on the space that we were looking to acquire. Excuse me. It felt right now to rescind our offer on the space we were looking to acquire and try to move forward with this space with 3CDC. So that's what we did. And we've been working with 3CDC. Unfortunately, that space we did not get. There was another party that was interested in it, and due to a lot of location details and street traffic and our concept versus their concept, they showed us a different location.
Yeah, it was. They were helping us try and find the best location they had for our business, and I gotta say I do really appreciate that, because while we liked the space that they first showed us, and they only showed it to us because we found it, we were down there and we saw it. But yeah, I think the space that they have shown us since is much better location for us. It's higher in foot traffic. It's more in the business district and less residential.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's definitely working out for us. So that's kind of where we're at.
Kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah,
So
we've submitted our application for that space, and we are getting ready to hopefully get paperwork signed this coming Monday, December 1st.
Yep.
But yeah, we're going to take you along on the ride with us as we continue this into our new series here coming up with Destination Fulfillment.
Yep.
So, let's see. here
So,
we are not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring. And we're going into this with faith in ourselves, faith in, the universe. We're having this moment of we've quit our jobs and that's it. So we're going into this not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring, but we are excited for it. So
very excited.
yes. So thank you for tuning in. We hope you keep listening, and we look forward to talking with you again soon. Have a great holiday season, everybody.
Thank you.